Whoa, what's up?
What's up? How are
How
you?
are you?
It's great to see you.
You too.
I'm pumped
What's
you
that?
made time for us amongst mid-move. Did I just see you're moving
Uh,
homes?
yes, I actually moved last Monday. So it was
Oh,
like the
dang.
middle of everything. We've been planning it for like 2 months, just like, okay, we got to get there. But yeah, we're
Yeah,
here. Everything's good. So how are
awesome.
you? What's
I'm
going on?
fantastic. Boulder's so small that it's 80,000 people that Whole Foods is pretty calm. Target's got toilet paper. People are running.
That's
It's just yeah. Whereas LA and SoCal out here, it's not that situation.
It's not. Toilet paper is hard to come by.
Yeah, so I've got some. If anybody needs some and it's a real emergency,
You can send it to my
maybe
address. Yep.
yeah, call it a favor. So yeah, super pumped to sit and chat with you. And I wanted to give everybody kind of a week to kind of manage their own businesses before I reached out and asked. But
Totally.
I was ready. I'm really interested to learn about how you're coaching your students and clients, what you're doing yourself, because I get to sit here in a very different situation working for TrueCoach than I am if I'm you, and you still got to make sales to make money, so that way you don't go broke. And so,
Yep.
but there's such a delicate balance of making sure that you're presenting your value and your offer, but also not making it seem like you're just trying to take advantage of things. And I just love the way you coach and the way that you really help. I just really love the way that you've always presented yourself and gone about your business. And I've never felt like she's being inauthentic. And I know that you're doing it for your livelihood. And so I can't wait for you to share what you're teaching your coaches. What can the audience learn from right now, so that way they can be a little less scared and manage their whatever the situation is and start going forward.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I think it's a really uncertain time. So first of all, I can tell you, if you have a business coach who is giving you hard and fast rules about what you should be doing, I think that's a little bit of a red flag, only because none of us have been through this before, right? So a lot of times, what we're doing is what we are trying to do in our own businesses. So I coach over 100 clients in business coaching and all different, most of them, I would say probably half are full-time personal trainers who are now not working at a gym. And the last, 2 weeks have been a huge emotional roller coaster for all of them, and, talking it out with me. And so I've been kind of on the front lines talking to people in terms of where they're at. Some people are like, I am so excited to have this time to be home and to be able to finally fully focus on my online business. Other people are like, I got bills that are due next month and this is not cool. Or I don't have more time because now my kids are home, right? So there's people are all over the board with this. And I think that it's important to think about, and I've been sharing with my clients, tiered priorities. I think it's really important. Number one, obviously, is your health, your self-care. Prioritize yourself, because if you are not at your best, and this is what's hard, right? Is we have our own kind of emotional roller coaster that we're thinking about. And so, but in order to serve, whether it's our clients that are in the gym that maybe want to train with us virtually, and we'll talk about that in a second, or if it's, clients who are already paying us, or if it's just an audience, like a social media audience, in order to show up fully present for them and fully of value to them, we need to take care of our home, right? So prioritize your health, prioritize your family, friends, what you need to do to feel safe so that you can actually go and serve. Because if you're serving from a place of anxiety, desperation, urgency, scarcity, that's not going to help anybody. And that's only going to bring in more urgency, scarcity, anxiety, etc. So number one, take care of yourself, friends, family, etc. Second, take care of your paying clients. So for example, if you do have clients in the gym and you're like, okay, do we want to maybe do Skype sessions? Do we want to do Zoom sessions? Do we want to do more stuff on TrueCoach? Wherever you're kind of housing, whatever way that you can kind of virtually help them. But here's the caveat, and this is what's been tough. Our clients aren't thinking about us, right? They're just not, right? They're distracted. So we're thinking about them and we're like, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you? What do you need? Let's do virtual sessions. Let's do live sessions. Let's do we are all about trying to make sure that they have everything that they need and feel supported. And we should be feeling that way. But a lot of our clients are dealing with their own stuff. They're stressed about their job. They're stressed about their families, their health. So you have to remember that they're doing what they need to do for them. So if they don't immediately sign up for virtual sessions with you, take a deep breath. They'll be back. They're not going to sign up with anyone else. Who would they sign up with? They trust you. So it's an exercise in us just feeling into abundance and allowing for our own clients to have their process, because they're dealing with so much stuff. So try not to take it personally if they're not as available and they're not answering your emails, they're not answering your DMs or your texts right away. Like, give them space, let them breathe. They're dealing with their own stuff. So I think having that perspective really helps to go, okay, I know they'll be back when things come, when the dust kind of settles. Have an option for them, whatever that looks like. But if you have online clients, maybe you already have members, you know, who are in a continuity membership, or you have virtual coaching clients, take care of them as best you can. They might need a little bit more support. So normally if you're doing programming for them, or maybe it's, you know, 1 call a month or something like that, maybe you bump it to 2 calls a month or a call every week if they need that. And then ask them, what's the best way to communicate with them? So maybe you think, oh, let's get on a Zoom call, or maybe let's, you know, but a lot of clients don't like to be on video. So you have to pay attention to what they want. So normally I have my girls ask their clients, hey, I want to support you, but I also don't want to be overbearing. I don't want you to feel any sort of obligation or stress about it. What's the best way to communicate? Is it text? Is it, you know, voice message? Is it email? Is it phone calls? What works best for you? I don't want this to be stressful at all for you, because we all have enough stress. Getting their input, I think, will help the communication. So take care of your in-person clients if they are willing to do a virtual option. Next is take care of your audience. So social media. If you have not been building your social media audience, now is a good time to double down on that. Again, once you've taken care of your paying clients, you've taken care of yourself, then I want you to take care of your audience, and I want you to show up with service and value. And this is no different, Sam, than any other time. So whether we're in a pandemic or not, like, we do need to add value online. And I usually use Facebook and Instagram because they're the lowest hanging fruits, and most people are hanging out on those 2 platforms. You know, we can talk about YouTube and, you know, Pinterest and all these other places, but Instagram and Facebook are pretty just like the ones that everyone are on. So start there and just be super consistent. And what I mean by that is add value. Obviously, none of us are experts in the actual coronavirus, right? So like, don't get on there like talking about the virus. Like, that's not your area of expertise. But talk about what people are talking about. So yeah, and that's like Gary Vee said that. And he's like, talk about what people are talking about. So it's these tangential conversations that people are thinking in the back of their minds, but they're not like really saying, right? So we're throwing a whole bunch, I'm sure you guys have seen, throwing a whole bunch of just like free random workouts at people. And I think that's fine. I mean, people want that, and they're like, cool, I have a band at home, or I have a jump rope at home, or I have this equipment. And I think that's great. And that's a good kind of first level service to people, and have that if that's what your expertise is. But the second thing you want to do is think about what other things are affecting their health and fitness right now. Is it emotional eating? Is it stress eating? Is it the fact that their kids are at home? They don't have, this is a new normal for them. This is a totally different routine. They feel so out of sorts. The way that you know what's happening with your audience is asking them. So if you are a fitness professional and you are trying to use social media to eventually sell, you need to do some market research. So I recommend using like polling to just ask people where their head's at. We don't know what they're struggling with. Some people are like, I'm good to go. Other people are like, my entire world has flipped upside down the last 2 weeks. So ask them. Number 1, good question is, what is one word you would use to describe your exercise in the last week? And you'll get people all over the board. Inconsistent, unmotivated, consistent. Like, you'll get all these different answers, and then you'll kind of see, even if you get a handful of answers, it's still great research, and you can take those answers. And if I see a lot of people are writing inconsistent or I'm unmotivated, I can do a post on how to motivate yourself to exercise at home, right? So you'll get insight into what you should be posting on based on the market research. Second question, what's one word to describe your eating in the last week? Again, you'll get answers all over the board. But when people say, eating everything, just totally like whatever, you can go, okay, I'm gonna take those and I'm gonna create content on those. The last question that I like to ask, and this is where you get a lot of meat, is you can say, what is one thing that if you had help with that right now would make your situation feel more manageable or better, right? And you'll get a lot of different answers. And this is basically another way of asking them what they're struggling with. Some people will say my income. Some people will say childcare. Some people will say motivation. Some people will say at-home workouts. Some people will say, so you'll get insight into how you can provide. So I think it's important to address the concerns of your audience before they even say them to you. Like, be preemptive in figuring out what they need and then start adding value that way. So, I mean, I think that's a good kind of place to start, is And then in terms of this question has come up a lot. So this is like the fourth tier. So number one, take care of you. Number two, take care of your paying clients. Number three, take care of your audience and add value for free as much as you can. Fourth tier is, I do think it's wise to have a paid product. I think it's wise to have something that you can be asking money for. Look, not everyone's broke right now. There are plenty of people who still have fitness goals. They still have consistency goals. Maybe they have a life that was just overturned over the last 2 weeks and they don't know how to handle this new situation. There's a lot of different food in the house. Maybe their kids are home. Like they don't know how to handle that and they need a coach. Yep. So I think if you have all the other things in place, then you have earned the right to ask for money too. Right. And so I think maybe people aren't investing in like $10,000 masterminds right now, but I do think that they would be interested in creating, instead of random workouts that are given away for free, put together a program for somebody, right? Let me write you a program for the next 4 weeks. We don't know how long we're going to be here. Let's do a 4-week program. You could do something like that, super low ticket, and put it out there as a service, talk about it on social media, and tell me why I should be doing a 4-week program that is created for the person versus random workouts on, Instagram Live, right? So make a case for that. So those are kind of the 4 big priorities that I'm kind of helping my clients navigate through right now.
I love it. Let's say you're a gym, or let's say you're a fitness business that's maybe really reliant on, linear programming and the barbell, and you've never really been a body weight kind of place, or in that kind of more holistic side of fitness. You've always kind of just been the program and the training. And you kind of need to pivot right now. I know you work with women that have those kind of brands and men who have those kind of brands. How are you helping them maybe re-articulate their message in a social setting when they haven't been doing that at all?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So here's a really simple way to do it. And I've seen a lot of people, like what's really been cool about our industry is I've seen a lot of sharing lately. So one way is you can share from trusted brands that you trust, right? So maybe it's not your thing. And I always tell my girls, like, you have permission to not be the best at everything. In fact, like you aren't the best at everything, right? It's okay if you're primarily a nutrition person. You don't need to all of a sudden like pull home workouts out of your ass and be like, oh yeah, I have these too. And it's not really your thing. Like send your audience to someone who's doing at-home workouts really great. Send your audience to someone who's doing, maybe more stress relieving activities like meditation and, like stretching and foam rolling and mobility, and like send people to other places. You don't have to be the best at everything. So give yourself permission to that. And then second of all, again, I think all of what we're talking about, there's always a mindset component to everything that we do. I don't care if you are like a bodybuilding gym, powerlifting gym, like, I don't know, anyone who has done somewhat serious fitness understands that there's a huge mindset component to it. It changes you on the inside. And so I think you have the right to also talk about, again, these tangential conversations that potentially are not directly related to barbell training, right? But that also that your audience would also appreciate. I don't think it's off brand. I think sometimes we question that more than a client does. Oftentimes if someone's reading something, they're not going, wow, Sam's never talked about this before. This is weird right now. They're not even doing that level of analysis. We are, because we're like, does this match our brand? Is this okay? Remember, like they're going to read it or not, and you'll see based on the traction that you get, whether or not it lands or not. And the good news is this is a great time to try stuff. If you have historically not had enough time to create content for social media, like double down on it. A friend of mine says, she said, it's easy to be all good when everything's all good. And I love that because it's like, cool. If like the economy's thriving, people are buying stuff, we're selling everything, like it's easy to be like, yeah, like, of course I can handle some hardship, right? But now we are having to handle hardship. And I really, truly believe that it's going to be the gyms, the studios, the professionals that double down and get innovative and pivot in this moment, that on the other side of this is really going to be, they're going to be the ones thriving and ahead when we kind of come out of this.
Yeah. I'd love to learn about the way you look at helping a brand or helping someone be innovative and pivot, because I think it's so easy to look at like, well, what are they doing? And I'm trying to be them. And it's great. They're doing a kick-ass brand, but like Jill Fit is Jill Fit because she's been doing it for this many years. But Jill Fit year one is not Jill Fit this year. And you've had to adjust and pivot. And sometimes you've done things where no one else has done it that way. And it's just been like, oh, it only works because it did it for my brand. And I think you're probably the queen of this shit, to be honest. You've been so good about like adapting to social media, like whatever platform jumps in front of the market, like you're just always there and it's still consistently you, but you're adjusting to whatever's going on. So how are you coaching your ladies, your team through that? And how do we look at like what a unique idea really is? And how do I know if it's a business I should go after?
Yeah. It comes back to something we've already talked about, and that's market research. The only reason why that, well, first of all, like if you are, especially if you're a fitness professional, and maybe you're out of maybe your personal trainer or your fitness instructor and you don't have those clients anymore. You're home, you're not making income. It's stress time. I get it. But look at the things I try to, I mean, and I don't mean to sound this as like really like just cliche, but this is true. We actually are in a good position because we do have social media, which is free. You have a ton of ideas in your head that maybe you haven't had the time to put on social media. Now you can go, okay, cool. Now that I have time, I can actually start to grow this thing and start creating my body of work. So to your point, Sam, like, yeah, my body of work, year number 1 of Jill Fit was just workouts and recipes, right? That's what it was. It was just super easy, low hanging fruit. And if you're just getting started, those might be the kinds of posts that you're going to put up, and those have utility and those are great. So not every single post or piece of content needs to be mind blowing. I think sometimes professionals are like, well, this isn't good enough, or like, I need to do something more interesting, because they're looking at people who have been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and going, I need to, and especially because they're trying to impress their peers oftentimes, right? So as a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, we want to make sure that we have the right science and that so-and-so in the industry respects us and whatever. Do your own thing. Like, you are an expert. If you love recipes, if you love cooking, like, we could use more people like that right now. If you're someone who has always done home workouts and you still work at a gym, like, show me what you do, show me how you do it. So market research is really the number one way that I've stayed on the pulse of what's happening in this industry. I'm constantly talking to people. Every time I have a DM conversation, it's imprinted in my brain. What is this person asking? And sometimes it surprises me, right? Don't assume that you know. I think, again, I've been a fitness professional working from home for 10 years. I'm out of touch in the gym industry, to be honest. Like, I haven't been a personal trainer in the gym for 10 years. So I'm having to ask my clients, what's it like? Where are you at with this? Like, what's that? So I'm constantly like, let's get on the phone. Let's jump on a Skype. And you have to ask those questions and don't assume that you know. But as soon as you start getting all of that intel, I turn it right back around. I'm like, cool, how can I use this on social media and help my clients be better too?
Yeah, you do such a good job. And I love how you always talk about instigating conversations, right? Like, you know, you have to look at your DMs as if we're yucking it up in Whole Foods, being like, hey girl, what's going on, or whatever that is, right? And so I appreciate you're always looking at like, how am I measuring success of that output, right? Is it getting people to respond back to me? How many people are inquiring? How many people am I talking to? And I think that's the piece that most people don't look at when they start using Instagram for a business or for marketing. It's like, yeah, they're putting a post out there here and there, but they don't really measure if that got good, right? And then they're not measuring like, how many people am I engaging from that? And is that trickling into my lead funnel? For you, you know, a lot of this game is figuring out, okay, I want to try that. And I don't know how long to go down that hole before I need to pivot and try something else because it's not working. How do you measure that? What's your barometer of like how long you try something before you're like, maybe that's not the thing I should keep doing?
Well, I think you should do a little bit of work ahead of time, like deciding, like, you know, at this point, I do feel a little bit like social media is a little bit of a shit show right now. And I think that's okay. I think like we're in that space, and I feel like a lot of people feel like their lives are a little bit of a shit show right now. Totally fine. So I do think now's a good time to try, like, I don't know, let's just say you are like, you know what, I've always, maybe I'm going to try like infographics. I've never really done that before, but like, let me just see, right? I can't be outside doing photo shoots and I can't get new images and I'm stuck at home or whatever. So let me just try infographics. Like, now's a good time to like be bad at them. You know, like, you don't have to be good at them yet. This is probably the smallest your audience is ever going to be. It's only going to be bigger from here. So like, if you want to mess up, like, mess up now. Now's a good time to try stuff. I can't, and, you know, Sam, you were in my Instagram stories training, and basically, you know, one of the major things we need to be doing back to like is asking our audience. So using the polling questions, there should be a minimum of like 3 calls to action per day in your stories. Instagram stories are amazing because people are getting to see that, they're getting to have that connection. And every time you ask a question, not only is someone getting to interact with you, so you're what's called training the click, right? If I sell something, I want someone to click on it. So I want to get them used to engaging, but I'm getting a ton of intel. I'm getting so much download from that. So I think a lot of people maybe get annoyed if they get DMs. They're like, people are asking for free advice.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, I look at it like, oh my God, if someone takes the time to DM me and like ask me a question, that is a
Mm-hmm.
direct impact. That's a direct, like it's a check mark for the trust box, right? This person
Yeah.
trusts me enough to send me a long ass DM talking about their struggle. I'm like, this is gold. So if you guys can elicit, and we talked about this in the Instagram stories training, the more DMs you can elicit, the more you know that your content is hitting. So I would look at that. So usually, in terms of tracking engagement or tracking like what's working, my friend Shantae, who if you guys know, she's the movement maestro on Instagram, and she does a lot of Instagram for business stuff. And she says that you want to look for the 4 S's. So on a main feed post or like on some sort of social media post, Facebook or Instagram, you want people to share it, you want them to save it, and you want them to say something on it, right? So, I mean, likes, I feel like are shiny, so we pay attention to those, but you want to think about, are people engaging? And if they aren't engaging, they probably don't feel safe yet, right? So if you're just getting started and you don't have a history of people really commenting on a lot of stuff, that's okay. You can cultivate that over time, but you have to ask people questions. Even if you get no answers, you have to keep asking, because we're training people to be responsive in your stories, on your main feed posts. There
Mm-hmm.
always needs to be a call to action. I think you'd be surprised at how many people actually do the thing if
Mm-hmm.
you just ask. And every response you get, I love Instagram stories because there's no faster way or easier way for someone to DM you, because it's just a reply to that versus having to send you kind of an unsolicited random DM, which kind of
Mm-hmm.
can feel a little bit inaccessible at times. So
Mm-hmm.
being the more content and the more valuable content you're putting up on your Instagram stories, the more people will have opportunities to respond to those things and ask you questions, give their insight. And anytime someone does that, to me, it means a lot, because it means they took the time to do that and they feel close enough to me. A stranger on the internet somewhere else in the world feels close enough to me to want to share that insight with me. And I take that very seriously. So, I mean, there's a lot, but at this point, I think you don't have to know what's going to work long term. You
Yeah.
just have to try stuff for right now. And I think it's probably not the best time to be super strategic because things are changing so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, do your best, and then see how things go and just watch.
Yeah, I love it. Now, as we're talking about using social media, and I love, your story course was freaking awesome. I don't know if that's an evergreen thing for you or if it's a limited thing, but like if you guys get a chance to do it, it literally was awesome. I work in marketing. I look at it all the time and like, oh shit, like she's right. Like, yep, I need it. Yep. Okay. Like it's great. And I'm just like, and especially like peeling the layer back. And like, even for me, I do this a lot for like TrueCoach and like other companies I've worked for, but like I rarely talk to the camera in my own platform. And I'm like, oh shit, like I got to start doing that. Like I got to start peeling that layer back and being present. I don't mind jumping in front of the camera. It's something we're pretty extroverted. You and I could probably chat for hours, and it could go from coffee to wine, which is cool. And like, I'm
Yep.
down for that.
Yep.
But like a lot of people, and I know you work with these, oh, I've never really been comfortable talking on camera. How are you helping your young businesses step into that right now? And what are you giving them as advice to know that they can do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's so great. I mean, I give them like little tips that, like, you can do like best practices, right? Like make sure
Yeah.
that you feel comfortable, make sure you put your confidence outfit on. I mean, that can be just like how you look, how you feel, the lighting, do it in front of a window, like all these kind of little tips and tools.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it really does come down to practice. So I try to do things to get my energy up. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making. Like, first of all, you're not supposed to be good at this. So don't judge yourself. I think that's one of the things that we get so judgmental. Remember, like, you're new. It's okay. Like my very first YouTube videos in like 2009, 2010, just were awful. They were so awful. I think the only reason they got any traction is because YouTube was kind of new and there just weren't that many videos yet. So I look back at those and I like to share those with my clients to show them that, like, look, you're not someone who's done public speaking before. This is, in a sense, public speaking. You're not supposed to be good at it yet. So give yourself some grace. Totally fine. And then practice. So I really tell my girls to maybe do some sort of series where, every day for 30 days, they do Instagram mini trainings, right? So for example, maybe there's 4 ways to XYZ, or 3 reasons to blah, 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 or 5 ways to XYZ. So come up with these little mini lists of things if you want to teach something. So for example, maybe a relevant topic right now would be emotional eating, right? So again, you did market research. You saw that a lot of your audience is struggling with emotional eating, nighttime eating, boredom eating, etc. So you're going to do a mini training on Instagram Live, which is basically a talking head video, or Instagram stories rather, talking head video. And over the course of 6 to 10 frames, you're going to teach those 5 ways to overcome emotional eating. And how do you know what those things are? Because you're a professional and you have them right here, right? This would be the same as, like you said earlier, Sam, meeting someone at the grocery store and them saying to you, hey, like, I really struggle with eating at nighttime. Like, what's the best way to overcome that? What would you tell them in the moment? You're an expert. You have that expertise, right? So then you just literally say that on camera. So a couple things, I like to stand up if I can. I feel like my energy is better if I'm standing. So I do a lot of my webinars standing. Like I said, get in front of a window if you have it, so you feel like the light is really good. People can see your face. They can see the way you're animating. I love Instagram mini trainings because you can see your energy. Like there's no better connection for someone like to be able to see your face, see the way you animate, see your energy in the moment, and then have like good intonation in your voice. I like to use my hands, use my facial expressions, etc. And then just teach really awesome stuff. So I've given a couple of my clients who are trying to get more traction on social, I've said, you just need to go and do Instagram mini trainings every day for 30 days. And it's not going to be pretty all the time, and it's okay. Not everyone's going to like hit it out of the park, but you're going to practice. And as a result of practicing, you're going to get a lot better 30 days later. So it's not even about like, I need to get clients. Yes, that will be an outcome, potential outcome. It's more about you just doing the practice so you can get better. So for people like that, there's kind of no way around it at this point. If you are a personal brand, like if you are a personal brand, people need to see your face. They need to hear your voice. It's extremely important. So, we know that up to half of the content on the internet right now is being consumed via video. So you have to be out in front and you have to get better at it. But don't expect to be perfect. I think sometimes we think that if there's a pause or we say a couple times that people are immediately going to log off, and they just don't. This is live. This is live video, right? So the people are really, they're willing to work with you. They're not going to like log off the second. In fact, I feel like if it's too polished, I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like if it's too polished, it's kind of suspicious. Like this is just like, I like it. The dog runs in the background, a doorbell rings. Like it just makes it more real.
We were actually working with a YouTube specialist because we run a lot of YouTube ads and whatnot through TrueCoach. As all of you guys experience, you get hammered with our ads as soon as you touch our website. And but he talked about it. He's like, actually high produced content, if you're not a major like Nike, is doing actually really poorly because the generation below us who's come through with TikTok and Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram, like they recognize authenticity through this medium so much faster than like our parents. Right. Whereas like my mom will share everything on Facebook, right? That's like, if you believe this, you should do this. I'm like, Mom, that's like the National Enquirer. Like you can't share this with the world. And she's just like, what? This person shared it. And I was like, but like, they don't recognize that same thing. But I love this. You always consistently talk about being you and being peeling back the layer and letting people behind the scenes a little bit and being a little vulnerable. And that's really an element you really promote with your personal brand. How do you help people maybe start digging into themselves? Maybe they've been thinking about becoming a personal brand right now because it's an opportune time. And they're having a hard time like pushing through that next wall of like, okay, I know what I need to go. I just, how are you helping your girls through that right now?
Yeah. So I call these vulnerability PRs. So kind of just like, cool, if there's something that and this was a practice with me early on. I started as a blogger in 2010, and I blogged every day for 2 years. And then I kept blogging after that, not as frequently, but I remember I would have certain things that I wanted to share, things about, maybe not having perfect eating habits or, having a glass of wine or skipping a workout or things that I thought would make me feel like people see me as a fraud or not as credible or whatever, but it was real. It was like the real things that I was doing. And I felt a lot of shame, the disconnect between what I was sharing and who I was. I had this like shame, like there was shame there. And I remember I had some of these things that I really wanted to share. And actually a mentor of mine, Alan Cosgrove, who I worked with my second year of business. And he was just like, people always respond more when I show myself like laying on the couch and having a beer. than when I'm like, you know, teaching at Perform Better or whatever. And I just like, it kind of gave me permission. This is like a mentor of mine, someone who's extremely successful in the industry. And I was like, oh, okay. Cause I'm like, I'm having a glass of wine a couple of nights a week, but I'm feeling like, oh, I can't like show people that or whatever. So it was that. And it was a bunch of other, like, just kind of, you know, insecurities that I wanted to share and just things that I felt like would pull away the illusion of perfection. Of course, none of us are perfect. So it's like weird that I would even try and keep that up. But and so I would have these moments where I'd have something to share. And I remember it was in the moments where I was like, I don't know if I could share this. That was the insight to me that I needed to share it. And so that was on a blogging platform, same exact thing on social media, right? If there's something you don't want to share, that means you have to share it. Like that just to me is a rule. And it always, always, always is the things that I'm so scared of sharing that get the best traction and the biggest responses. And I know you don't trust that. You're probably listening to me right now and being like, Jill, you don't understand. I can't do that. I get it. Try it. The best thing about social media or the internet in general is everything is deletable, right? Everything's gone in 24 hours. Like if you hate it, you absolutely can just delete it, or you can get off social media. You can do whatever. I guarantee you're going to have an amazing experience when you do it. You might not get a lot of public comments, especially if you're sharing something really vulnerable. Like I've shared everything from like, you know, hiding candy bars in my bathroom cabinet to like, you know, throwing like bags of cookies like in dumpster, like just everything. Like I've shared all this stuff and I can't, and I'm like, I'm writing this and going, there's no single person who's going to be able to relate to this. And that's when I get a stream of DMs, emails, text messages. Oh my God, that's exactly me. I've done that exact same thing. They might not feel comfortable posting that on social media, right?
Yeah.
That they're the same way. So I think it's important, and I think it's an opportunity that we have to be an example. You know, whether you want to be or not, if you have a personal brand, you are a leader, whether you want to be or not, because that's the position that you're in. And people are looking to you for insight. They're looking to you for what to do. And that's not to say like that people are weak. It's just like you're in a position of, I mean, a position of power in a sense. And that's a huge responsibility. So it's not for everyone, but I think it's a huge, that's the thing I love the most about social media, that we do have an opportunity to be an example.
Yeah. You know, I really love how you use the story arc as you go through and teaching this way of you doing business, especially through social media. And it's not been my strong suit to be on the front end of social media by any means, but to look at and how you started using and building characters into your life through consistency and bringing your brother in, bringing the dog in, the mustache from your boyfriend, and like, you know, the wine, and you and Danny and the egg porn, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a part of, you just built this consistency about who you are. And I love that you've been able to, you know, take it like, oh yeah, I want to include you guys in. And it's just a consistent journey of what's going on. Like, man, I love that. Like, I don't get to see you all the time, but like, I totally know kind of what's going on with you. And it's like, damn, she's just always kicking ass. Right. And it's so fun to be able to do. And I never feel like, I know you run a business out of Instagram, and I know that it's how you make your money, but it's like, I never honestly feel like you're selling anything. Like, yeah, you have products and programs, but like a girl's got to eat. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, this is so good. This conversation is so good, Sam, because I mean, marketing done well should not feel like marketing, right? And you know that, like as with what you do. Really, number one, most important thing is that if you are trying to use social media for business and to generate revenue, you have to be transparent. There's no getting around that. I think a lot of people are scared to sell because they're thinking about like the used car salesman or like whatever, right? And they have this really icky feeling of selling. But remember, we like buying stuff. Humans love buying shit, don't we? So like, and anyone who, especially for my business clients, when I teach selling, I'm like, and they pay thousands of dollars to work with me. And I'm like, did any of you ever feel sold before you got in this program? They're like, no. And I'm like, exactly. Like if you're good at what you do, because you've had, when I say transparency, I mean, inclusive, like inclusivity, right? Everyone should have all the information all the time. So as an example, you know, traditionally buying and selling has had like an asymmetry to it, right? So for example, let's just say somebody's going out with your car, you take it to the mechanic and you're not a mechanic. So they look at it and they quote you like $3,000 and you're like, okay, I guess that's fine, but you don't know. So you feel like on the inside, you're like, is it really that much? You know, you don't necessarily trust it because you don't have the information. The seller has more information than the buyer. So there feels like a discrepancy in information there and you feel on guard, which is why we're so scared to be sold. But if the mechanic instead opened up the hood, took me underneath, showed me, like, it showed me where the rust was, you know, showed me where this thing was kind of breaking, took a pricing sheet out and showed me their cost, and then, you know, how much it was to service cost, and like kind of broke everything down for me. I'd be like, oh, I'd be happy to pay the $3,000 because I fully understand what exactly it is that I'm getting and the service they're providing. So on social media, we have the exact same opportunity. Don't pretend you're not selling. Talk about your products and services. This is part of the Instagram, you know, stories training too. Like, you have to talk about your services. You have to talk about, and don't talk about it in a way that's like, I'm going to sell you this thing. I mean, that's not human, right? You want, be a human about it, be normal with it. Like right now, for example, I'm doing a fitness launch in about a month, in like 4 weeks or so, called Lean Building. And I'm doing beta testing for it right now. So I have a whole bunch of people who are trying out some of the workouts for me. And I've been talking about this program for like 3 months now, because it's a program I've been working really hard on. I'm really proud of it. I'm excited about it. I have thousands of people doing these workouts. I'm not pretending that at the end of this, I'm going to be like, okay, see you later. Thanks so much for trying them out. I'm like, I want these people to buy the program. Like, the program is fucking awesome. Yes. And I want them to know it's coming. I want them to be excited about it. I want them to try it out. That's why I'm doing beta workouts, so they can get a feel for what the workouts are going to be like. If they like them, if they don't like them, give me feedback. It feels very inclusive, and it should. So by the time the cart opens, people feel like they had a hand in creating it, which they actually did. So transparency from start to finish. All selling should feel like a win-win. No one should ever feel like they're being like, they're on guard or they're being convinced. Like, everyone should just have all the information and then be able to make an informed choice. I want super savvy customers. And I think most of us are. I think, you know, we can sniff out BS faster than ever. So don't insult your potential client by pretending you're not going to sell. Talk about your services.
And doing it consistently is what I think you do so well. And especially, you know, ramping into it where it doesn't feel like all of a sudden, hey, it's here. It's like, oh, you've been talking about it for months. And I think people forget with like a service-based business compared to like, I just bought a new bed. And I went through all the bed companies and I put it in the cart and wait for like, let's see if they throw me a deal through internet, you know, through email. And I'm like, nope, they didn't throw me a deal. All right, let me wait for a halt. And so I'm just going through and I'm like, look at how many times I went to their freaking website before I bought a Tuft & Needle bed. And I'm like, I went to their website probably every day for 6 months before I bought, and was waiting for something new. And I'm like, oh, what a great lesson in buying a product. And I hadn't done it. And then I recently bought an iPad, and I went into and I've never been an iPad person. I've never owned one. And I'm like, I don't know. I like the idea of it, but I don't know if I would use it. Walk into Apple, waiting for the guy to sell me, right? I'm like, dude, I'm like giving you an opportunity to sell me the best one. And he's like, no, he's like, where do you see this fitting in your life? And I was like, holy shit, what a great question. What a great question to talk about a piece of technology. But I was like, wow, 2 different buying experiences and but like both of it, I wanted the person to give me a reason to buy the product, right? And then like, or just going back to their thing. And you're just so good about consistently being present and making sure that you're there. I know I'm not the list person that has to check the box. I'm like, let's see how it feels. But I know a lot of people who are sitting there going, well, what's the formula? Is it this many story posts to this many sales posts? Like, what's the formula? And I know that you have a way to coach that. How do you help that person who's like, I just need numbers. Tell me how many.
So this is good because, you know, I call it the 3 S's. These are 3 S's of content creation. If you've ever asked yourself, like, what should I post on social media? Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've done your market research. You know what your audience needs, wants. You know what the climate is like for them. You know what's happening in their brains. You've done all of that. And by the way, that's ongoing. So if you follow me, I'm always asking questions in my story. I'm always like, and I always introduce it by saying that it would be a favor to me. That's actually called the Benjamin Franklin effect, is that when people feel as though they can do you a favor, they like you more for some reason, right? It's just like this, and it's a long story I won't get into, but when you frame it up like this would genuinely help me, which is true, it would genuinely help me, people are much more likely to get responses. So if you are like, well, Jill, I never get anyone to answer my questions or my polls, number one, look at how you're asking them. So if you're like, what's something you're really struggling with right now? Like, again, people aren't going to feel super comfortable sharing that. They're like, this is a stranger. Like, I'm not going to, like, I don't feel comfortable sharing what I'm struggling with. So you need to give them options. So for example, I teach my girls to use polling and make the answers neutral. So you might say something like, instead of like, are you struggling with eating right now? Yes or no, right? A lot of people who are struggling with eating might not feel comfortable saying that because there's an answer that you're not. And they're like, well, maybe I should say that I'm not struggling, right? So you can say, instead, let's just assume everyone has a struggle. And then I might say, when it comes to your cravings, which do you crave more, sweet or salty? So now all of a sudden, I'm assuming we all struggle with cravings, but which one is it, right? So it feels a lot more safe to answer that question. So the way you're framing it up, you're not getting responses, you need to be better, and you can get that better through practice. It's cool. And then the second thing is now you've done the market research, you're like, okay, cool. First thing you do is you make a list of 20 to 30 concerns that you know people are struggling with right now. Maybe insights they've given you, conversations you've had, maybe some of your gym clients have talked to you in the past. Write down a list of 20 to 30 common concerns or frequently asked questions of your clients. And those are what I call solutions posts. You literally just answer those as if they're a Q&A, right? So maybe one is, again, nighttime eating. So you might create a post that's like 4 ways to overcome nighttime eating. This is where you get to put your teacher hat on and you just get to teach. So solutions posts are just very much about instruction, insight, tools, strategies, techniques, etc. This is where you get to just be the fitness professional that you are and then teach. There's no right or wrong answer. It's your opinion. It's what you would tell someone if they were in front of you at the gym. What answer would you give them? Write it online. That's the first ask. The second is stories. This is kind of what we talked about a little bit before, Sam, is like, this is where you kind of share vulnerably. Like, again, oftentimes the person that you're trying to help is maybe a previous version of you. So maybe you overcame, obsessive eating, or maybe you lost 50 pounds or something like that. And now you want to help someone who is in the position you used to be in. Yeah. And so oftentimes when we share our story of success, our story of transformation, people can see themselves in that story, and that's important. So if you say, 5 years ago, I was really struggling with binge eating. I remember I would binge eat like 2,000 to 3,000 calories every single night. And I'd go to bed and I'd be so stuffed. And I remember waking up in the morning and just having so much shame around it. I can't believe I did it again. And I would just vow to be different. I would vow to be better every single time, every single week. And it kept not working, right? And then something happened, and I don't know, maybe I hired a coach, or maybe I, started a business, or maybe I did something and I snapped out of it. And over time, now I practice this, and now I eat moderately and mindfully and healthfully and whatever, right? The person who is where you used to be is reading that and going, holy shit, that's me. That's me right now. Jill was able to do it herself. I wonder if she could help me do it. And so that's really what we want to elicit when we're sharing the stories posts. So if it's not you, and by the way, it's not your life story necessarily, right? It's like these little moments, right? When I shared that I was hiding candy bars in my bathroom cabinet. Like, that's a small example of a story. Mm-hmm. Now I do this instead. Good examples. Maybe if it's not you, you can share stories of your clients. That's always good for social proof. So if you have a client who had a success with you, break down what you guys did together. When they came to you, they were feeling this way. We started working together. We implemented these couple things. And now my client is doing things this way, right? Again, someone's going to see themselves in that transformation and want that exact same transformation. And then the third S, and this is the toughest for people, is services. So your services, and this is important. You don't have to always be like, hey guys, come down to the lot. I got these cars right here, right? It doesn't have to be this like super cheesy sale all the time. In fact, it probably shouldn't be. Right. What it should be instead is I talk about it like using your services contextually. So even in this conversation, Sam, a couple of times I've said, I have over 100 business clients in various programs right now. So when I say that, I'm not actually talking about the program itself, but I'm getting it on your radar. And I just do this naturally. So it wasn't like I'm trying to sell anybody, but it's like, when I say that, it's like, oh, I didn't even know Jill did business coaching. That's cool. And she must be a good one because she has over 100 clients. So when you say that, so anyone can say that on stories or a main feed post. You can say something like, a question I get from my clients all the time is, or I just got off the phone with one of my one-on-one coaching clients who's struggling with this. And then you can tell that story. So when you talk about your services, you can talk about it contextually. It's not always a direct sale, although I do think probably if you have coaching services available all the time, you should probably talk about and do a direct call to action to either apply or, send you a message or something like that, probably one time a week. So typically I break it down this way. 3 solutions posts per week. That's where you just get to put your teacher hat on. 3 story posts per week. That's where you're the friend and you're relatable and you're vulnerable. And then 1 services post. That's just a straight up service post per week. And I think that's a good, like, if you're posting every day, which again, like, you don't have to, but the more the better. That's what I'd recommend.
Now, and guys, I mean, she's literally taking us through the course that I paid to do a little bit ago. And I'm like, wow, this is so good. Like, I was trying to be really sensitive around like how I ask questions that you didn't just like do the course, but I'm like, oh, it's pretty much it's the seal. So I know you guys are getting a ton of that. For you, you know, right now, I know you get this a ton, and people are looking at it going, maybe I'm just now getting an Instagram. I have the time and I'm willing to get better at it right now. Do I have to have a big following to start using Instagram as a business or make money or even have a product? When is the right time? And I know, you know, you probably have a way of coaching this to people to make sure that they feel comfortable doing it. And I want to let you share that with them.
Yeah. So you do not need a large audience. In fact, one of my clients, she's been in my mastermind now for about 15 months. She has about 1,200 followers on Instagram. She's making 6 figures online because she's been really good at what we just talked about. She's been really good about sharing her clients' results. She's been really good about social proof, and not in not in like a very salesy way, but in a very like direct way, in a real way. Like, hey, here my clients are, you know, down 11 pounds. She's really good at what she does. If you're listening to this, you're probably really good at what you do. But the people who currently follow you, they're probably friends, family, acquaintances, friends of friends, people you met randomly, maybe people you went to high school with. Like, those are probably the people you have access to right now. Don't be upset that you don't have strangers following you. I hear that a lot. It's like, well, I have no strangers. Everyone that's following me knows me. And I'm like, they're the best people to have because they already trust you. They already know you. They already know they like you, and they already trust you. So they're more likely to purchase from you. Even if I gave you 10,000 strangers right now that would follow you, they don't have a relationship with you yet. So they're not going to buy anything from you yet. So it's a good position to be in because the people who are following you right now already know you, like you, trust you. So the only difference is they don't know that you do this, right? You haven't told them. Maybe you've posted a picture of your dog and you posted pictures of your family. You post a picture on vacation. You haven't talked about your business because you're doing it in the gym. Or you're doing it, you know, so you haven't talked about the fact that you are an expert in this. You haven't talked about the fact that you're an online coach. They don't know that you do that service. Yeah. So that's just an awareness thing. We have to get it on their radars. So you can make an announcement post if you feel comfortable being like, hey, you guys, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm a personal trainer, full-time personal trainer, and group fitness instructor. I also do distance coaching for people who maybe don't live here in Los Angeles and want to learn how to lose weight, want to learn how to build muscle. My specialty really is body transformation. So if you're someone who wants to gain muscle and someone who wants to lose inches, that's specifically what I'm the best at. Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Something super simple. That's just an awareness post. No one's going to be mad at that, right? What I just said, no one's going to be like, how dare you sell me? It's literally just you talking about what you're good at. Yeah. You know, we wouldn't get mad if someone was, I don't know, like really good at, like if my friend was a dentist and she just went to this conference and got this like extra certification and like was like celebrating how she's like, now she's better at dentistry. I'd be like, that's awesome, right? Yeah. People want to support you. But I think sometimes we have seen bad selling. So I think we're a little bit gun shy when it comes to that. Just don't do that. Just be real, be normal, be of service. And then you can sell, especially if you're giving away a lot of great stuff for free. So I think oftentimes we go, well, I tried that and it didn't work. And it's like, because you haven't been servicing yet either. You know, so you need to do both. So I love that Gary Vee's book, it's jab, 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 right hook. Essentially it's give, 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 sell. So we kind of do have to earn the right to ask for money. But if you're putting out great content, if you're doing the 3 S's all the time, then you can say, hey, and in fact, it's a service. If you put it in front of people, they're like loving your content, but they're not going to reach out to you and be like, hey, Jill, do you do coaching? Very rarely do people do that. If they do, that's great. That's amazing. But you're going to probably have to put the opportunity in front of them. So don't be scared to talk about your services. To me, it is a service to talk about your services. I've hired people that I was like, oh, I didn't even know you did that. That's amazing. Like, can you help me with this? Because I already have a relationship with them. Right? I've already, like, you know, people I went to high thing, and it's, you know, and it's finally come to fruition that it's like, it's going to be a business relationship or business transaction. So try not to micromanage where you get a sale,
Yeah.
just continue to put out great content and talk about your services, and then let the chips fall.
Yeah, I think that's one of the pieces that you do such a great job of is just consistently making sure that it always feels authentic. You're always being consistent with it. And it, it's never out of the blue and you let people in, but like, through this process, it's like, we're talking a lot about letting people into our lives. Like, I mean, I'm okay with it. Like, we're in my living room, we're in your house, and we do it enough that it's like, yeah, okay, it's just the thing. Guys, I messaged Jill this the other day. I was like, holy shit, like I'm battling with how much can I be on social media for now doing more, but also respecting personal boundaries of, how much I'm on it and like getting too deep down that rabbit hole. Would you just kind of talk a little bit about like how you manage that? And like, I knew that she went through it. That's why I was like, holy shit, I need to ask her.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge change at the beginning because you're not used to documenting your life, right? So one of the things we talked about in the course that Sam took was documentation posts, right? This is just kind of like, what's going on? Who are the characters? What are the storylines? My dog, my boyfriend, we're moving. Like that's all. It's it's organic, but it's also strategic. Like I want people to know what I'm up to. And if you know something about me on the internet, it's because I wanted you to, right? Like that's why I'm sharing it. It's because I always like joke that my entire business is based on stalking, but at the end of the day, like I want people to know me and I want to know people. So we're in the people business. We connect with people and then they decide if they want my service or not. But first and foremost, they need to feel connected. I need to feel connected to them. And so we do that a lot of times, not from health and fitness. I think sometimes we want people to trust us because we're the smartest. That's not why people connect with us. They connect with us on these other little things like, oh my God, we both have a dog, or we both have a little dog, or my dog's birthday was yesterday. My dog's birthday was last week. Like those small connections are the reason why someone's going to buy a fitness program from me in a month, right? Like it's a weird thing to say. So it is important that you do pull back the curtain and kind of show what's going on in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be like TMI. It doesn't have to be like every single moment of every single day. Like now I'm going here, now I'm doing this, now I'm with this person. There are some people who like to do that and that's their practice and that's cool. For me, I always try and think, how is this of value to someone, or how is this interesting to watch? I mean, or how is this interesting to see? So, I could share a million videos of my dog and I would like looking at them, but I don't know if there's a service for someone else, right? So maybe I'll share like one video and I'll like make a joke or something that is entertaining to someone listening. So if you are sharing stuff, make sure it has some level of value. Either it's educational or it's entertaining or it's connecting, right? So they feel like, okay, we both have a dog or whatever. So I do share those things with purpose. I call these knowables. Knowables are like the 3 to 5 things that have nothing to do with your expertise, but that you share and you play up on the internet for on purpose so that people can connect with you. Maybe your dog, maybe you have like a morning ritual that you always do. Maybe you have you go on a nighttime walk with your partner or your spouse. Maybe you, have a kid that you like, like a crazy kid that you always talk about, or like that you show all the time, right? So anything that feels ritualistic, that feels inclusive, that feels like connection based. So things that I maybe wouldn't share necessarily, like when we were kind of like bordering into like the TMI, is I think it's important to share struggles, but I think maybe don't share them in real time, especially if you're not really sure, especially if you're going through a huge life transition. Sammy mentioned earlier that you kind of have been able to follow along with the storyline for the last 5-10 years. But I went through a lot of different changes in my personal life during that time. I got divorced, I was single for a time. I'm living with my boyfriend, like a lot of these kind of personal things, but I wasn't sharing moment to moment because I wasn't even sure, it's okay. Like I won't tell you how to use your social media, but I think that if you are going to share something personal, make sure you have at least a grasp on it, so it can feel like a service and not just like dumping. Because we all know what it feels like when it's dumping. It's kind of like an accident. You're driving on the road and you like can't not look, right? We've all seen people who share like screenshots of text messages on Facebook, and you're like, okay, you don't need to. I mean, it's great to it's like pick up the popcorn. It's fun to watch, but it's not. It doesn't instill confidence. And I think at the end of the day, people want to hire people who are competent and confident, right? So if I might connect with you like, oh my God, I had a cheating boyfriend too, right? And you see the text messages and you're like, we're the same. but I don't want to hire you, right? Because I
Right.
don't, it doesn't instill a level of competency to me. So you need to have both. You need to have connection, but you also need to have competency and authority.
I love it. I love it. You know, one of the things you've mentioned throughout this conversation, and I don't know how many people pick up on it, but like you've mentioned all these coaches that you've hired throughout the years, and you hired Alwyn year 2,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hiring a coach, like especially really early on, like, wow, that's a really a lot of self-awareness. Like, holy shit, I want to go down this rabbit hole. I'm committed to getting Jill Fit up and running, and I'm hiring a great coach to help me get through it. You now help thousands of entrepreneurs around the world, spun up thousands of businesses. Tell people about your business coaching and how people can work with you and all the different ways that people can be more involved with working with you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. You know, I'm a huge advocate of coaching. I've had so many different coaches. I've had so many mentors, so many people I paid like literally tens of thousands of dollars to work with, and other people who have just been mentors of mine for free. I'm a huge fan of that. I like the idea of having mentors and also being a mentor. I think it's really important, and at least that's my value system. As soon as I learn something, I teach it right away. Learn, teach, learn, teach. I think, especially if you're getting started, spending money on coaching can feel really scary. And I get that because we have a lot of doubts. We're like, how are we going to make this money back? Is it going to work for me? Is this the right coach for me? I don't trust myself to do the work. I've tried stuff in the past that I didn't do, right? So we have all these reasons why it's scary to spend money, or why it's scary to invest. And honestly, like at the end of the day, even if it isn't the right coach, you learn something. To me, my investment is a value system at this point. I have joined masterminds that have been amazing, and I've joined really expensive masterminds that weren't a good fit for me. And I don't regret those things. I needed to have those experiences, you know? So I think at this point, you can't know what you don't know. And it's hard to see that because I think oftentimes we'll go, well, I got this far. I can just look up some free YouTube videos and I can get so-and-so's free content. I can get on this Instagram live and learn stuff from Jill. And like, I hope that all of you guys who are listening and watching, that you do implement all the things we're talking about. I gave you like straight up just absolute strategy today. I hope you implement, but at the end of the day, it's only going to take you so far, right? And so it's not just about the to-dos, it's about how to do it. Right now, I'm seeing as a coach and my clients, like we're coaching right now. This is important time. What I mean by that is giving someone a meal plan is not coaching. Giving someone a workout program is not coaching. Me giving someone business tips is not coaching. Coaching is the soft skills, right? This is like when I have a client who just lost all of their income and they are crying to me on the phone, that's when I have to coach, right? That's when I'm like, okay, now I coach. It's easy to be all good when everything's all good.
Yeah.
So get someone who you trust. I actually did a whole episode of the Best Life podcast on how to get a mentor. Again, it's a value system of mine. I think everyone should have one. It doesn't need to be me. I have a very specific style. It's very fast paced. It's very action oriented. It's very pivotable. It's very strategy oriented. So if you're someone who wants to do more like, I don't even know how to describe it, like more like emotional, like a lot of my clients are already on board. They know they're good. They have an expertise. They don't need a ton of coddling. Like they're just like, cool, boom, 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 let's go. If you are someone who needs a lot more like feels and you're more highly sensitive and stuff, might not be me, you know, so make sure that the personality types are similar. But if you want to get shit done for sure, like we're on a rocket ship. So,
Can I interrupt you for like 2 seconds and just say how important that was that Jill, like as much as she's talking about what she does, she straight up was like, this is who I help, right? If you're not this person, it's okay, right? But this is who I really help. And because it's the best use of her time. It's how it works for her brand. And she's unapologetic about this is what she's going to be doing. And she just mentioned it in real time to new audience, whatever. And I thought that was such a powerful thing just to do so quickly. And I wanted to make sure people saw it, that she was like, no, this is who I work with and it's okay.